Alright, so hi guys, so welcome to the third episode of our podcast. Alright, so as usual, we have a good one for you. So yes, parati namin sinasabi yun, pero parati naman totoo yun, okay? So again, we go back to the point of this podcast where we want to educate you guys in how to approach training, nutrition, and in this episode, we're gonna further expand that circle and look at injuries, which is normally neglected for some people and maybe not as talked about for training and stuff like that. So, we know normally me and Coach Luis are known for injury management with athletes and return to play. Now, we have a guest today who's absolutely perfect for us. Let me introduce to you guys Josh, alright?
Hello, everyone. Nice to be
Nice.
here. Thanks
Hey,
for
Josh.
having me.
Nice, alright. So, give us a brief background in terms of your stuff and how you got in here. Gusto ba?
Thanks for having me. So, I am Josh Manohoran. I am a licensed physical therapist, and I've been in this profession since 2013. So, feels pretty long, surreal. I've been here for a decade. All right, just putting it out there. Currently, I am affiliated with Shangri-La, the Shangri-La Group. So I'm practicing my profession in EDSA Shangri-La Hotel and EDSA Shangri-La Manila and Kerry Sports Manila. So we focus on sports rehabilitation and musculoskeletal problems or rehabilitation. So yeah, that's it. That's a brief. I also own I started a group of physical therapists who our primary goal for the group is to be the go-to brand for injury management nationwide. So we can do online consultations and home visits.
Nice. What's the name of the team?
So the team is called Kakayanan Digital
Kakayanan?
Rehab. So it's a Filipino brand. So we chose a Filipino name. We chose that name because physical therapy is about getting people to their maximum movement potential. So kakayanan is a deep Tagalog word for ability. So it's very meaningful for that word. And also a little side story is, at the moment our health and wellness industry is not much of it's not accessible for everyone. It kind of depends on your economic ability. So parang ganon. That word encapsulates that economic capacity to your maximum movement potential. So it's kind of the perfect name for that initiative.
Nice. So parang nababridge siya.
Bridge
in a
siya,
way.
exactly.
Perfect. And then you mentioned you work sa EDSA and sa Kerry, sa gym
Yes,
setting.
correct,
basically.
correct.
So, linking that as a physical therapist, normally do you observe injuries na parating nangyayari and stuff like that?
I'm really busy, you know.
Nice.
I mean, I'm happy from a business standpoint, but from a healthcare standpoint, it's actually a bit worrisome because
I see.
everyone has injuries. I'm sure both of you have something going on in your body. Pati ako eh. So everyone has injuries, and commonly there are two ways that we injure ourselves. So it's either there's a big thing that happened or a big blow to your body. For example, mga ACL tears or fractures. And then there are also micro injuries that happen over time, and usually if it's a micro injury or a cumulative trauma condition if you cannot identify when this started. So for example, tinanong mo, kailan nag-start yung shoulder injury mo? Tagal na, hindi ko alam kung kailan nag-start. So most likely, that's an overuse injury.
Nice. And then commonly for us, Coach Luis, ang madalas pumapasok sa amin may knee injuries,
Correct.
galing sa ganyan because of just sports.
Correct.
Now, with regular gym goers, is this a common pattern na parati yung ganito, parati yung likod, parati balikat? Is there something like that?
Exactly. So shoulders and knee injuries are very common because, di ba, magbe-bench press tayo, magsa-squat tayo, and sometimes there's that mentality of just going hard or going home, parang 0 to 100.
0 to 100, yeah.
So a lot of people, although there's truth in that, I think one of the things that get missed out is stabilizing your joints first. So kaya a lot of people have these shoulder injuries and knee injuries because we use them a lot in training. So for example, the sports that on top of gym, pag yung sports nila is upper body dominant, for example, basketball or volleyball, use your shoulders a lot. So, nagkakaroon ng injuries din doon. And then, for your knees, for let's say basketball and football, there are a lot of jumping and running, pati mga runners, then they injure their knees. So, yes, very common yung
Very
dalawa.
common. Nice. So, just to share a little bit. So, me and Coach Luis had worked for a long time na, and in terms of pain and injury management, I learned a lot from him. So, Coach Luis also works with the national team ng volleyball. We also work together with that. So,
Right.
with your side, Coach Luis, do you also see a pattern na ganon? Common ba na yung sa tuhod and stuff like that? Anything you've observed?
Yeah, it's a very common pattern, but it often happens when just the team or the athletes go too fast or too hard too soon, or there's like a too long abbreviated pause, and then you go straight back into training, and then there's no like proper build up. And at the end of the day, we're strength and conditioning coaches. At the end of the day, ang gusto natin mangyari, me and you, on our side is to create like a flexible program wherein we prevent the injuries, and then we don't want our athletes going to rehab, and we want them to sustain their training 6-7 times a week, sometimes even twice a day. So it takes more than like the exercise part. So we have to look after the outside parts as well. Syempre yung sleep, yung kain nila, and everything goes there. So like I'm curious to know, like let's say there's a client who comes to your clinic, like I have a shoulder pain, I have a knee pain. Let's start with shoulder pain. What are your usual like how does your assessment go? Assessment plan goes through with the client.
So, Coach, first I like to resonate to what you said, yung prevention. That's very, very important and commonly overlooked. There's a very common age-old phrase that prevention is better than cure. Prevention is also cheaper than cure. So that, and then also you mentioned about nutrition and rest. Those are very commonly overlooked factors sa training. Whether you're a professional athlete or a recreational athlete or you just want to be healthy. So in terms of assessment, the first thing I personally practice is to understand the unique needs of this person. Kasi there's a lot of clinics naman. There's a lot of physical therapy clinics around and rehab facilities around. But the beauty of my practice is it's a very personalized setting. So we're not catering to 7 people at a time. We can attend to you at your own. So, iniintindi namin yung need ng tao. Volleyball player ka ba? On top of being a volleyball player, are you also a single mother, who's looking after your child? So, aside from your sport, kinakarga mo yung kid mo. So, and then if you're doing laundry, naggaganon ka rin, di ba? Nagkasampay ka. So, we need to understand the whole function of the person, so that we can design a personalized program for you. Second, so that's the lifestyle side. Second is your training schedule. So you mentioned in a professional setting, you require them to train 6 to 7 times a week. So how do we now design a program that will allow them to sustain that kind of lifestyle? And then, dun mo maintindihan, ano yung nagkakos ng injury? Diba? Ano yung mga missing pieces? And then, what have you tried before? Most likely, nakapag-physiotherapy na yan before. Dami na na-try. Nag-Theragun na kami, nag-blading na kami, nag-ganito. Bakit walang nangyayari? Yun, yung history ng condition nila and what they've tried before and where we can come in and what new can we offer this time.
Nice. And then actually, I want to bring out then the difference in the environment of their assessment setting.
Exactly.
So with Josh na medyo controlled, let's say in a gym setting na I can see you as just you, compared to Coach Luis na medyo mas chaotic sometimes. Pero there's still that individuality. So I want to see the difference, like for you, Coach Luis, in terms of the assessment, is there something different na understanding na you're in a sports environment, go hard tayo compared to single mom and stuff like that? Is something different and similar?
there's similarities and syempre differences. With sport, there's always pressure. Especially kunyari, even if your athlete is in pain or injured, and then let's say the next game is in 2 days. And then sometimes, syempre, we can bring our athletes to a plethora of experts or doctors. Some doctors will say, you just rest. Some doctors will say, you take this shot.
Yeah.
Some doctors will say, you take this painkiller, then you can play. So there's like, that's their opinion, different opinions. And then, kung saan mag-ride yung athlete. Kasi, syempre, kung saan napapalagay. And then that's where we're gonna start with. And then, if wala naman, and then they really trust you, let's say the physio side, and then the strength and conditioning side, they really trust you, and then that's where you can really work right away. So, yung similarities is, in terms of assessment is, inaalam ko muna, ano ba trip mo? Muna. Saan ka ba napapalagay muna? And then we can start from there. Kasi minsan may athlete na gusto ko muna magpa-check up. Sige, pa-check up ka muna.
Yeah.
Katawan mo yan eh. Di ba? At the end of the day. Tapos from there, okay, we see the check up, we see the result. Ito yung sabi ni Doc. Kunyari, medyo hindi ako satisfied or hindi satisfied si athlete. Okay, let's do another checkup. But while waiting for those to happen, we should start like with a movement plan or movement progression wherein in 48, 72, 96 hours. Kung maglalaro talaga yung athlete or susugal natin yung athlete, makaka-perform siya with the least na risk as much as possible. Kasi at the end of the day, cannot make the risk zero. We can only minimize it. At the end of the day, we want our athletes or even our regular clients get out of that said activity na kung saan nagre-recur yung injury with at least the least damage as much as possible. So, yun nga lang, sa athlete side, there's a lot more pressure kasi there's money involved. Kunyari, let's say star player yun, tapos crucial playoff game, natalo yung buong team, mapapalitan yung whole staff. Di ba? Tanggal lahat. So, yung trabaho ng 30 people at least is at stake. Whereas yun sa let's say si mom, sakit yung balikat, sasampay. It's a whole different thing. Kahit nanay ko, sumasakit din ang balikat minsan eh. Tiisin mo lang yan. Tapos tingnan ko nag-improve after 1 week. O pag hindi, kuha kita ng PT or trainer. Papunta na lang sa bahay mo. Tapos pag umokay, sige, tuloy mo once or twice a week. Ayun.
So sounds like the commonality here is you look at the lifestyle and then clinical history. So what were they doing before? What did they prefer? And then the difference is the high pressure situation, kumbaga. Now, you mentioned a while ago, syempre, much better. Huwag ka na magpa-rehab, huwag ka ma-injure muna. Prevent. So on those scenarios, how do you usually approach that? So you mentioned prevention is better than the cure. So someone is working with you. How do you address that? Or what is the general direction normally?
So it's similar to that approach also. So it's more like inuunahan mo lang what are you trying to prevent or parang ano ba yung gusto mong ganun din, ano ba yung trip mo, anong gusto mong mangyari sa future. Are you looking at, let's say, football as a recreational sport that you want to sustain until you're older? Are you starting golf because you're retired, you're retired now, you have time, you have the money, you want to stay busy, you want to connect with people? How do we prepare you for that? Ganun din, it's really understanding the individuality of the person. Doon talaga naka-hinge ang personalized assessment natin. Tsaka yung program, di ba?
Nice. And then on your side, Coach Luis, the prevention is actually much more crucial in a high sport environment. So is there a general rule na, okay, to prevent injury, you need to do this, you need to do that? Is there something like that?
Well, I can share an experience with kasi medyo dumadami yung powerlifting clients ko eh. At a high level, yung mga nasa mataas talaga doon. So, they lack the understanding pa dun sa exercise physiology side. So sorry, medyo magiging technical. So, in strength training, di ba, naturuan tayo na pag usually close to max, like 80%, you're working 80% and up in yung intramuscular coordination. And that's where most of our lifters train at. So, nanggigigil sila training at 80, 85, 90, 95% ng max. They're always close to that. And they rarely train yung intermuscular coordination, and that's training below 80, 75%. That's where you build the coordination ng mga muscles mo. Wherein you can really lift consistently. So, ayun nila, kadalasan sa kanila is they don't simmer in that zone for like, sabi ko sana, tiisin nyo muna 1 to 3 months. Diyan muna kayo bago kayo sumabak dun sa higher intensities. Kasi diyan yung diyan yung medyo mabigat na talaga sa joints. So let's say pupunta si powerlifter, bigyan ko ng exercise for their injury, and then susuputan ko na, ito yung progression plan mo, ito yung loading plan mo. Let's say for bench, squat, deadlift. Di ko na minsan pinapakilam yung technique nila. Kasi that's very arduous. Kasi at the end of the day, loading is more crucial for me. Kasi sa powerlifting, they can have so many technique variances. So iba-iba yung technique, di ba? Minsan sobrang wide, minsan sobrang narrow, and minsan sobrang cliquish ng mga powerlifter na or even general lifters na I tried this stance or I tried this technique, it seemed to work really well. So they're gonna try regardless of what they tell you. But what I gave out is like a general rule, that they can try whatever technique they can have and then maximize it. So just working at that range muna for a long time. Yung hindi pukpukan agad. And then, once pumasok ulit dun sa zone na medyo mataas na intensity, dun talaga malalaman kung talagang tumalab yung yung intervention natin. Kasi at the end of the day, sa competition, let's say powerlifting, sa meet, mag-1 rep ka ng max mo. Di-deadlift ka ng max mo. And then, without flare-ups, ayaw natin na-injure yung athlete natin at the end of the day. So syempre,
it's mostly sub-maximal.
Training. And then, syempre, if they want, kunyari, mostly dahil sa access ko na yung sa technique nila on that side, that's very, very, very hassle on our side. Kasi panoorin mo yung technique nila, then they're gonna send daily. And sa side natin, that takes so much time. So if the athlete has enough funds for that, then we can take them in. Pero usually, I only see them like once a month. Like, yung mga ganong klaseng athletes. So, I take a general route. Easier route. Pero if they can see me like more, then we can take advantage of that more. And then we can work on not only the number side, we can also work on the technique side more, even more.
Nice. So, it's mostly training sub-maximally, not always 80% of your 1RM, kumbaga.
Yeah.
And then small progressions over time, parang ganun. And then, sa'yo, Josh, is there also a type of pattern na injury prevention na you tend to lean towards more na, okay, most of the time, if I get him strong, okay to. Or maybe if I have him stretch more, like kay Kirk a while ago, alam mo na pala yung sagot, yun din naman yun. Oo, yun mo na gawin. So, do you have this tendency to lean something na, I think this is a good place for us to be, to prevent injury?
I'd like to build on what Coach Luis said na meron tayong submaximal training component. So usually then this is the part that you feel like ang dali naman ito. Deadlift na tayo ng deadlift or parang ano ba tong parang good mornings, parang wala naman nangyayari. So, but you realize that those are preparing your body, or that those exercises are preparing your body for more, for your function. So, in a similar way, for let's say for a tennis player who just wants to be busy, kasi let's say she has a lot of time, she has a yaya, may kids siya, so she, let's say this client, she wants to socialize with her co-moms. She, aside from the tennis that is her sport, she also has to do upper body exercises that will train the stabilizers of her shoulder, her rotators, her side hip muscles, because those are the components of the sport, also her ankles. So you break down the activity and then you design little exercise. Dun kami naiiba sa, that's one of the things that we offer. We do these little exercises that annoy out of you. Kasi ano ba naman tong ganyan-ganyan? Para namang wala
Basic,
nangyayari. But yun na nga, doon ang strength namin. Na we prioritize those little things like stabilizing your deep core muscle. So let's say in the context of back pain, a lot of us have experienced back pain in some point in our lives. Pero that happens because hindi strong yung foundation ng core muscles natin, yung mga inner muscles. So that is one of the secret formulas that we offer in our practice. Second, yun yung mga joints. Hindi nyo alam or hindi natin alam ano ba dapat, gaano ka dapat baka mobile ang joint, when does it have to be stable, when does it have to be strong or tight. And then yun na nga yung flexibility, which is commonly overlooked even for me. Imagine if you're a professional athlete, you train 6-7 times a week. Your training is 2 hours on average. Then you have your physio exercise. Then you have your magsa-stretching ka pa ba. Pero parang we have to realize that really is very important. And one of the things I always say is stretching is like sleep for your muscles. So imagine mo ikaw, pag di ka natulog, yung performance mo ng puyat ka, ang baba ng output mo, di ba? Versus you're fully rested. So commonly we look at rest as unproductive, but it's actually when we grow. That's the downtime is when, imagine those little parang construction workers inside your body, repairing your muscles, yun yung mga nakakalimutan natin.
Nice. So you mentioned stretching. So actually, there's a big burst in the fitness industry or the injury prevention industry na is stretching actually important. So there's this side na you don't need to, it's just stretch tolerance, and then there's this other side, just strength train and stuff like that. So I think Coach Luis can also share his side on that one. So do you normally ask your athletes or people you work with to stretch, and do you feel the need to and stuff like that?
Actually, in terms of stretching, I take a very individualized approach. And then, if for the viewers, especially for the coaches, I think the book like the Sprinter's Compendium is a very good read because it's like a compilation of all the best track and field coaches in the world. So they have their per topic. They chime in on yung opinion nila and everything, and then they kind of critique yung each research paper for that. And then there's a really good research paper done by I forgot his name, but it's basically based on ligaments and tendons. But it bodes well with that book. Kasi as we all know, especially if you're more explosive, more powerful, you tend to be more stiff. But there's a healthy balance with that Kasi we need relative stiffness to create power at the end of the day. And if ever some of you was able to catch an interview of Simone Biles, the greatest gymnast of all time, sinasabi na she's the most tight in their gymnastics team. And then that says a lot. She's just mobile enough to perform her gymnastic routine. But her saying that she's the most tight probably contributed her to becoming the most athletic out of all of them. Aside from her genetic predisposition, maybe her parents are really athletic as well. So, like I've trained men's volleyball and women's volleyball. I tend to make the women strength train more than the men because the women has more lax na collagen, they're more flexible, and then they need more stability in nature, they need more strength in general. But for the men, they tend to be more stiff, especially with the power sports. So we do more mobility work and less strength training with men. And that also bodes well with let's say with runners, especially if they have a main competition. Usually prescribed like yung last strength training session ng mga runners before their main competition is like a week or two before the main competition. But for females, they can like strength train like within a week of their competition. You know?
Kaya pa rin.
Yeah, and there's differences between sexes and then differences between the sport. So I take a very very individualized na stand on that. But for me, especially syempre yung mga gym, may clients tayo sa gym. Coach, do I need to stretch in everything? I'd say it's your preference. Pero at the end of the day, the best time to stretch is before you sleep. Kasi sometimes when you, not sometimes, all the time, when you work out or train, you're still, after that, mainit ka pa, you're still warm. And then you stretch. You're very pliable at that state. And then most of us, paano tayo umuwi? Paano tayo umuwi? Di ba, nakaupo. So we're gonna go back to our shortened state. So sabi ko sa ibang athlete, after nyo dito mag-gym, mag-stretch na lang kayo sa bahay nyo. Tapos magpahinga kayo, matulog kayo. That's where you get the most benefit out of it. Siyempre, doon din, nasi-switch off talaga yung sympathetic na state natin to parasympathetic. Especially gusto mo let's say, gusto mo talaga magpahinga, sakto, stretch ka muna, and then mag-nap ka. And then that's where you get the most effect. Ginawa ko rin to sa national team eh. Pag nasa day before na competition, I do light massage, very light massage, and then I stretch them before they sleep. And then I give out some supplements like L-theanine para mas ma-enhance yung sleep nila, mas ma-promote yung relaxation nila. And then maximize the sleep. And then paggising nila, they feel so much better.
So it's more of to drive the sympathetic nervous system yung sa stretching in a way.
Yeah,
kumbaga.
to make it more parasympathetic. You know?
Nice. So actually similarly to my end, I think of the stretching as a continuum. Na how much stretching do you usually need? So for some people, they don't need as much. For some, they need a lot more. Because there is a tendency before the more flexible you are, the better. So similarly kay Simone Biles na gymnasts are normally seen as extremely flexible, pero she performs really well. So there might be an issue for some athletes who are already tight, na siguro they've developed that pattern with that tightness, and maybe increasing that stretch might do more harm, and maybe okay din siya, kumbaga. So it depends. I think yun yung natin, ang commonality niya. Now, these are extremely technical, all right? So I hope you guys were not bored with that. So let's give these people something a bit more practical for them to do. So let's just say, I'm that yaya with lifting your baby every single day. Ang sakit ng balikat ko. So for you, Josh, normally, okay, I have shoulder pain. Is there a go-to exercise that I should do this more or ganito, ganyan?
Yes, I actually learned a lot from the last. So thanks coach for that. And maganda yung sinabi niya na kailangan mo yun din. Parang i-relate ko sa sinabi ko, intindihin natin yung function ng tao. So for example, if you are let's say a house help that needs stronger shoulders, how much time do you have to exercise? May access ka ba sa gym? O meron ka bang body weight lang yung pwede mong gawin? Yun yung mga kailangan mong tingnan, no? But essentially, I believe that flexibility is part of our components of fitness. So, I would say, yun, kailangan kasi intindihin mo ano ba yung cause ng pain. May naiipit ba na muscle? Is it because weak? Is it because na-injure ba siya before? So, medyo this is what I am hesitant to parang give yung mga one-size-fits-all na exercises. Kaya binabalik natin lagi sa assessment. Check lang kayo ano ba yung this is where the professionals are good at to tell you what you don't know, 'di ba? But to break it up, it's either a stability issue, strength issue, or a flexibility issue. Those are basically what I see, or posture. Pwede ring posture yung dahilan. So yun, I'll leave it at that. Kaya lang, kailangan kasi malaman mo yung ano yung dahilan ng pain.
Yes. So I think our clear answer here is, it depends, diba? So unfortunately, diba? Kasi it is harder for us to give recommendations and you do it on your own without supervision. So similarly kay Coach Luis, kung pinag-stretching ko, hindi ko pinag-stretch si Simone Biles, does it mean na baka ikaw din, wag ka na rin mag-stretch, kumbaga.
Hindi ka naman si Simone Biles.
Hindi ka naman si Simone Biles.
Reminder lang.
So we need to take it individually, kumbaga. Alright? So now, in terms of people na trying to do them on their own, what are the common things that you see na you messed it up. Ganun talaga. And then, you end up, okay, dito ka na sa clinic. Maganda, kumita tayo, pero still,
Correct.
ano yung common areas na parati sila sumasabay sa ganito?
So yung ginagawa ng mga tao on their own without consulting. I think there's a benefit of information readily available through the internet and social media. The thing is nowadays, people don't know who to believe. So, medyo mahirap siya ngayon dahil let's say isang famous Instagrammer nationwide or let's say globally, ang daming following ganito and he looks good and he's ganyan, mas papaniwalaan mo siya kaysa sa isang let's say isang coach na nag-aral ng let's say 7 years reading all this latest research pero hindi siya let's say active in social media. Parang titingnan ngayon, alam mo yun, it's really like that, yun yung batayan eh. Yun yung batayan ngayon, yung parang how you present yourself. So that's a common struggle in our culture now. So tip for that is to know who's talking. Yung research nyo, sino ba tong taong to? Ano ba yung pinag-aralan niya? I mean, not to discriminate, but madami kasi, yun nga, magaling lang tayo mag-present ng sarili natin. But do we actually know, did we really study this or not? So vet kung sino yung this is what we call information diet. Kung sino-select mo, sino pinapakinggan ko before you follow their advice. And then, one thing then, no biases involved. Pero yung sinabi ko, yung the way you ask me, what am I gonna do if I have shoulder pain? And then I answered in a kind of complex way na hindi siya ganun eh. Depende sa ganito. Ganun mo malalaman kung ang kausap mo legit. Kasi pag ganito lang yan eh. Hindi magganito ka.
Bench press ka lang, Brad.
Mag-Cuban press ka dyan, tas ganun. Or mag-bench press ka. Doon mo malalaman na pag nagbato lang na hindi man lang pinag-isipan. I mean, not saying all. Not saying all. But ano siya, parang, yellow flag. Baka, ano to, medyo may pagka, alam mo na. So, naligaw ata ako sa answer.
Hindi naman. Tama. So, I think ang na-mention mo is them not really knowing what to do just because of the information na nangyari, kumbaga.
So, vet your sources of information. And yun nga, let's consult with professionals. It doesn't have to be me. Parang ang dami namang professionals out there who's more accessible to you. Pero ano yun, pili kayo ng pakikinggan natin. Then you decide from that. Don't just do things on your own or kung ano yung, it's just like dieting, kung ano yung uso ngayon. Sabi ni ganito, but your nutritional requirements are different. Your access to food is different. So, yun, seek an advice, get a thorough assessment, and then take it from there.
Alright, so kailangan pakipag-usap ka talaga muna with someone credible, kumbaga. And I think that's also the common thing with people who approach me with the rehab. It's not necessarily na hindi siya maayos. It's mostly just frustratingly they don't know what to do, and there are times na they just end up not doing anything at all. So there's this factor na actually sa medyo technical sa the biopsychosocial factor sa pain science namin na it's not just the bio or the injury itself, you have to also consider yung psychological aspect. I'm worried, I'm anxious, probably may days na sobrang puyat ka, kinalabit ka lang sa likod, bad trip ka na and that stuff, okay?
Correct.
And also, you mentioned the socio-economic, which is the main goal of your group, na even for people na can afford it, minsan, dahil nga sa dami information, ang dami na tinatry, and ang pinakakawawa dito is people who can't afford it, kumbaga, and they try it on their own. So, sa inyo ba, Coach Luis, is there something similar na sa athlete side naman na parati na lang or minsan mahuhulaan mo na lang pagpasok ng bagong atleta, pila ito kasi ito na naman. Most likely, ganyan na naman yung ginawa ni ganyan. So, is there something like that na nakikita mo?
Well, sa side naman kasi ng sa sport, especially if you like have really good intent in observing for a long period of time. Minsan sa lakad pa lang makikita mo na eh. Then, sa mood, body language, makikita mo na there's something wrong. There's something wrong. But at the end of the day, we'll just take it as it is muna. Kung ano yung kaya nilang i-share muna sa'yo. And then, that's where doon papasok na yung individual assessment process mo and then yung interview mo na step by step. Kasi most people, that's why madalas hesitant sila na pumunta sa mga professionals like Josh, like us, is most people don't want to be told na kung ano yung mali sa kanila eh. Di ba?
May preconceived notion na sila.
Yeah, and they would rather just hide in their shell and then I'll just figure it out my own. Even with prescription medicine, di ba? Di ba? Mga tao mag-search na lang muna, ano ba pag masakit sa tiyan ko? Natatakot sa doktor, di ba? Natatakot sa doktor, natatakot sa PT, natatakot sa sa trainer. Mga ganun kunyari. Is even with pag may client tayo na gusto mag fat loss. Di ba? They would try, ito muna, YouTube muna ako. Di ba?
Tipid mo na.
So, I think as a whole, like sa side ng strength and conditioning, side ng physiotherapy, how can we make ourselves not like, what do you call this, intimidating? You know? Like, doon pumapasok minsan yung yung ayaw natin ng masyadong fear-mongering. I think for the past couple of years, I have observed na ng mga tao na hindi masyadong nagpo-promote ng fear-mongering is yun yung mas nilalapitan ng mga tao. Doon sila mas komportable. And hinahanap ng mga tao is mga problem solvers. You know, not problem seekers. At the end of the day. So, yun yung I think as a collective whole sa industry na kailangan natin matrabaho. Kasi we've all been guilty with that. Na, kasi ganyan ka, kaya ka injured or whatever. We have to constantly improve ourselves on our end, on our side. Na paano natin gagawin ng paraan yun. We just have to constantly solve problems and not like nakahanap ka na naman ng mali. So, yun, dun minsan mas na-turn off yung mga tao sa atin. So,
Can I add to?
Sure, actually nakita ko.
So, two things, no? You mentioned about biopsychosocial. That's like a magic word for me. Very important for me. So, tapos to add to what Coach said kanina, yung hesitancy ng mga tao, I think, una sa lahat yun nga, ayaw na lang malaman yung mali. Kung ayaw malaman, paano natin isusunod? Ano nang gagawin natin? Pangalawa, yung hesitation to pay.
Yes.
And invest to for in a coach. Pero it's like ako ang question ko is lagi bakit kung hesitant ka magbayad sa tao na kayang sabihin sa what to improve on. Pero let's say you will invest on things that make you look good and feel good and alam niyo na yan. Bakit ganun ba kahalaga yung binili mo versus yung value na makukuha mo sa coach? Tapos yung biopsychosocial model of health and wellness, that's very important kasi let's say knee injury for a basketball player, let's say yun yung biological problem. Then yung psychological is like my career depends on my ACL.
Exactly.
And yung social is like this is what I'm known for. I have a family to feed. What will happen if I break my ACL? Ganun siya kahalaga na we think of people as from a bigger perspective.
Tama. So it's not just as simple as giving out shoulder exercise kumbaga. Okay. So tama nga. So actually perfect nga yun, especially with the athletes as well, na pagka may sumakit, there's this fear na nako, tapos na ba ako?
Correct.
Tapos na yung career ko. And sometimes that sensation of just worry can increase the intensity nung pain. Siguro yun nga, kung sinuntok ka na masaya ako, kayang-kaya ko, pero pag sinuntok ako, naggalit ako sa mundo, mas masama siya.
Correct.
Kumbaga. Okay? And then, Coach Luis mentioned the fear-mongering aspect of scaring people na if you don't do this, sasakit yung ganyan mo, kumbaga. So I think that's absolutely perfect. Now, in terms of supplementation, is there anything that you recommend to people na, okay, if injury, this is a good thing that you could take to help support?
First, I want to clarify my stance on supplements. No? So the word supplement is coming from the word addition to something. Hindi lang siya, let's say, yun na yung magiging source mo ng buong nutrition mo. So, let's highlight that now. First of all, we have to have enough carbohydrates na often demonized, no? Especially pag sinabi nating diet is like no rice, hindi ganun eh. Kung athlete ka or kung fit ka, or active ka, kailangan mo ng energy source at carbohydrates yon.
Yes.
Then we need the protein na we get from either vegetables or meat or fish or eggs or anything else that will help us build muscle to generate force. Yung physical appearance would come secondary na lang. At least dapat ganun yung pananaw natin, no? Then yung good fat, kasi we need that for functioning of your whole body. So hindi lahat ng fat mali, masama. So yun yung mga tinatawag na macronutrients. Then fiber should be there also kasi what we ingest, we also have to excrete it. So fiber can help with that. Na yun ang foundation. Then we add the supplements on top. So let's say if we want to build muscles, this is where this whey supplements come in, tulad ng Nutrabio, right? So I personally am a fan of Nutrition Depot and an avid customer.
It's good to hear.
They know it.
Kung hindi, layas.
Part talaga yan. Part talaga ng ano yan, ng buhay natin. And then, yun. So, whey is number one. Then, second, a naturally recurring element is magnesium. So, magnesium is very, madali lang yan mahanap. And then, you get it from any supplements then. So, I would recommend, kung halimbawa, you can ingest tablets. Pero kung let's say if you want to build a specific muscle or to heal a specific muscle easily, pwede kayong humanap ng mga spray if available. And then yun. Then for let's say a lot of us are athletes before and then we're going into kind of middle age, no? So nagkakaroon na tayo ng mga joint issues. So collagen supplements, for example, Flexit Gold, no, sa inyo, that can help also boost joint health because as we age, as we progress, as we get more wisdom in life, as I say, yun nga, may mga natural depreciation ng body. So kailangan alagaan din natin yun. This is where the supplements come in. But then again, we have to have a strong nutritional foundation first.
Nice. I think that's perfect then. So even us here in Nutrition Depot, where we obviously promote the supplements and stuff like that, we still encourage you guys to have a good foundation of eating correctly. Kumbaga, in the exact term nga ni Josh, supplement lang talaga to supply something na wala or kulang. Kumbaga. So it is very important to take in what you think is clean or is actually transparent about it. So specifically na-mention nga ni Josh is number one is we get that whey protein. So not necessarily that whey will decrease your injuries, stuff like that, but it's more of yung nga, the muscle mass involved, kumbaga. So it doesn't really hurt if you're stronger, kumbaga. So buti na lang dito sa amin sa Nutrition Depot. Actually, it is true. The supplements inside the whey here, specifically in Nutrabio, is third lab tested, meaning they really look at it to the dot. Because there are these supplement companies who put in 25 grams of protein, but not necessarily all of it is pure protein. Some of it is isolate or concentrate, stuff like that. So ideally, know what's inside of it, and we keep going back then, paulit-ulit is ask. And this is completely individualized, kumbaga. Right? So, maybe to end this at a high note, if there's one thing you could leave to the masses, na okay, if you don't want to get injured, this is something you want to do or something like that. Anything here?
Invest in a coach, I think. And a coach can be in any form. Could be a sports coach, could be a fitness coach, or could be a physical therapist, diba? Anyone who can tell you what you don't see. Kasi limited yung view natin. So we need that someone to tell us and assess us. And let's, give it a chance. That's the only thing we will know or that will help us know what's missing in what we've been doing. And that investment will go a long way for you in whatever way you want to use your fitness for.
Perfect. So invest in a professional so that you actually know what you're doing. So I think that's a really good episode. Coach Luis, anything to add?
Yeah, with injuries, especially if you have a coach, it's best to like collaborate with them.
Yeah.
Be honest with your feedback and everything, just to make the process smoother and faster. Like sometimes kasi may mga athlete na they just go through the motions even with the rehab and everything. I suggest you keep on asking, Coach, what are we doing? What is this for? By next week or by 2 weeks, what should I expect? You know, you should always be nagging to your professional who you're paying to, you know. So that helps your professional also to improve themselves then and stay on their toes. Diba? So yeah.
Nice. So, if we're trying to find you, Josh, where can we find you?
Instagram.
Instagram.
Follow at the Fort Physio.
At
That's
the
it.
Fort
And then
Physio.
you'll see everything there. Yun na lang.
Yan na lang. Okay.
Dami
So,
kalaban dun, support.
yun na nga eh. So, look for Josh, ask questions, and I hope you guys learned a lot here, and see you soon.